There is no let-up on the surge of COVID-19 infections spread across the world. The total of global infections is now 21.9 million, while the global deaths are now 977,000. Retaining its 6 billion tally, the United States is still the most impacted country in the world. India still follows closely with 5.7 million cases. At number 3, Brazil is struggling to stay with 4.5 million, while Russia is fourth on the list with 1.12 million cases. Colombia is number 5 with 784,000. This is COVID-19 Myths and Facts. Welcome on board. England and Wales have launched a new COVID-19 contact tracing app after months of criticism that the app doesn't work on some older mobile phones. Well, the tracing app, apologies for that, well, the Health Minister, Matt Hancock, said the new app would help the scheme used to contact those who have been in contact with the COVID-19 infected person to reach more people. The app uses Bluetooth technology to keep a record of contact between people who have it installed on their phones and notifies them if they have been in close proximity to someone who has tested positive for COVID-19.
App can do is find the contacts that human contact tracers can't find. For instance, people you don't know because, in the example I gave, you've been sitting near them on public transport. That might be one example, but there'll be others. And therefore, it helps us to find more people who are at risk of having the virus. And a screen will come up on your app and a notification saying that you have been in close contact with somebody with coronavirus and that you need to self-isolate.
Well, United States President Donald Trump is still blaming China for unleashing a plague on the world as the number of COVID-19 deaths in the country has surpassed 200,000. But China resolutely rejects this, calling it baseless accusation against it. We have details in this report.
Members of the COVID-19 Memorial Project planted 20,000 American flags at the foot of the Washington Monument on Tuesday to honor COVID-19 victims as the nation reached 200,000 deaths from the coronavirus. Small flags covered part of the National Mall near the monument early on Tuesday morning and will remain in place through sunset on Wednesday. Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi, spoke in front of the flags.
So I thank you. I thank you for, in some ways, giving some perspective on the number of lives that have been lost, multiplied again and again. And these flags are indicative not only of the lives lost, but of the families left behind and suffering.
President Donald Trump, who promised a brighter future, said the world must hold China accountable.
I think it's a horrible thing, but if we had not done it right, you could have 2 million, 2.5 million, or 3 million. But it's a horrible thing. Should have never, ever happened. China let this happen, and just remember that.
But China resolutely rejects this, calling it baseless accusation against it and opposes political virus.
China resolutely rejects the baseless accusation against China. No matter what others say, China will firmly support multilateralism and support the United Nations to play its central role in international affairs.
The United States, on a weekly average, is now losing about 800 lives each day to the virus. That is down from a peak of 2,806 daily deaths recorded in April the 15th. The country remains the nation hit the worst by the pandemic, with the world's highest caseload and death toll accounting for more than 1/5 of the global deaths. The United States reached a grim milestone of 100,000 coronavirus deaths on May the 27th. The number doubled in nearly 4 months.
Well, the head of Department ENT, University of Abuja, and public health professional, Professor Titus Ibekwe, joins me now for more discussions on this. Good to have you on the program this evening, Professor. So now, what do you make of the latest wave of new infections in the United States, even as the same scenario we're seeing in the UK, and what do you think could be responsible for this?
Yeah, thank you very much. You know, as we all know, COVID-19 is still an enigma to the entire world and the scientific community. Day in, day out, new discoveries about this illness keep on emerging. We know that there have been cases of second waves across even very developed and advanced countries that initially thought that the disease more or less had been brought to a halt. If you're taking a swipe at statistics, it has shown that these second waves are usually even very deadly. And that brings to the fore on the need for everybody to actually be on guard, and indeed every country. If you take a look today, you see a lot of measures are being put in place. Developed countries are trying to use everything within our wings or capacities to fight this illness, including development, technological development, where apps and the lights are being deployed today in order to be able to trace somebody who has been labeled to have this illness, so that individuals who got information regarding this will self-isolate. Can't you see that? And countries like Finland are even now deploying dogs, specially trained dogs, sniffer dogs that has the ability to be able to detect coronavirus. So people are using everything within. We know that there is no cure yet. Even the issue of vaccine, there has been also a lot of controversy surrounding this. We know that yes, about five are in the forefront of vaccines that we're all looking up to, scaling through the second stage of the trials. But it appears that the superpowers are all struggling to be the first to launch, even some trying to skip certain vital after these vaccines into the fore. What are we left with? We realize that we're all left with precautionary measures. And every country has to be on guard, and of course has to be very disciplined as a nation. Bringing it closer home to Nigeria, if we take a look at the recent development, a bird's eye view of the figures that have been coming out in the last few weeks will highly suggest, yes, that we have a plateau and probably even going towards a decline in the disease. But if you take a very scientific closer look, you will have some good elements of doubt, because the information that was reliably released by NCDC regarding the monthly assessment at the month past, August, showed that we had about 36% decline in the testing rate, whereas all that we have about negative testing drop is about 25%. So you can see that this is not commensurate, and that highly suggests that the equation tends to tilt towards significantly low testing capacity, because even places where these apps and such technologies have to work is where you have massively tested the populace, so that you'll be able to have almost everybody's profile uploaded into such an app, and you'll be able to identify most individual status and be able to take precautionary measures.
Well, but with that being said, Professor Titus, apologies there for let me come in here. With that being said, do you think perhaps Nigeria might witness a second wave of infections? Because already you rightly pointed out we are recording low COVID-19 cases as compared to other countries that have seen a rise of new infections. Do you think perhaps we're likely to see a second wave of infections?
Well, in medicine, we never say never. But one thing is certain, again, in Nigeria and in sub-Saharan Africa, there are some inherent factors which are very difficult to define, that probably has been given some level and good measure of protection, to Nigerians and indeed those in sub-Saharan Africa. If you take a look at the severity of the illnesses, even those existing within the country today, you realize that are mainly mild and moderate diseases that we have here, rather than severe illnesses that you have in good negotiated countries. And trying to look very deeply at factors that could be responsible here. We take a look at our population, for instance. You realize that Nigeria and indeed most countries in sub-Saharan Africa, our population are mainly young population, which about 60% or thereabouts. And what does this portend? And these are the group of people who have very good immunity, who have some level of good protection and good fight against this illness, unlike in developed countries where reverse is the case. Most, due to the longevity over there, most of their population are tending towards adult population. Beyond this, the issue of cross immunity, even the BCG vaccination, most children, our children. Thank you very much.
All right, and that's about it on this week's edition of COVID-19 Myths and Facts. Don't forget, remember, whatever you do, stay informed and stay safe. I'm Esther Makwariola. Bye for now.